Over the last several weeks, law enforcement officers have reported a string of break-ins at car dealerships across North Carolina. And right here on this map, you can see several markers at some of the locations stretching from Asheville to Henderson. Police believe the crimes are all connected. Now I'm going to tap here because today, News 13's Taylor Thompson talked with the sales manager at BMW of Asheville about upping security since a break-in in February.
4 cars were stolen in a matter of minutes here at the BMW of Asheville a few months ago. And after hearing how similar the break-in was in Marion over the weekend, the BMW sales manager tells me he knew they had to be connected. The Marion Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram dealership was broken into around 3 a.m. Saturday. The thieves got away with 3 cars and every key to all the cars at the dealership. Surveillance video shows 3 people dressed in black walking up to the dealership. One of the suspects then throws a rock through a glass door to get inside. A few minutes later, the thieves are shown running out of the dealership and later leaving the lot with 3 cars. It's all too familiar to Patrick Williams.
I'd bet you any amount of money in your pocket, that store is right on the side of the highway. And sure enough, when you Google it, it is right off of 40.
He says there's without a doubt a pattern here.
It has to be related. The jobs are too planned and they're too well trained at what they're doing.
Patrick says they've upped security since their break-in.
We have gotten a more sophisticated security system for the building. We're still blocking a portion of the lot off, and we're using a different strategy with how the cars are parked so that it's easier to tell when something's moved, make it more difficult for things to get away.
The most frustrating part is no matter what they do, if someone wants to get in, they're going to.
It does sometimes feel like, what are we doing here, spending the time and the energy and the money on setting it all up, knowing that if they wanted it to happen again, it will happen again. You can't build a car dealership, in a steel building. I can't build steel walls and steel doors and no windows and lock all the cars down behind a 10-foot fence every night, because then I wouldn't be able to sell anything.
Patrick says that part of building a brand is making it appealing and accessible, but at the same time, those are all the things that are used against you. And Patrick says he plans to reach out to the Marion dealership in the next few days to get more information on just how similar these break-ins were.
And new at 5 o'clock, a new round of funding to try and prevent flooding along the Pigeon River in Haywood County. Now, back in 2021, powerful floodwaters pushed along by Tropical Storm Fred caused devastation in Canton and other areas.
And the county is getting $2 million that would go towards specific flood prevention measures along the Pigeon River.
News 13's Charles Perez talked to some neighbors who could see a direct benefit.
Finally, it's some good news for the folks here in Canton and those that live along the Pigeon River with what promises to be a real effort to try and control the flooding.
It is one of our most beautiful assets, and it's one of the things that frightens us the most.
Art O'Neill is one of the owners at Bare Waters Brewing, one of many businesses in the area that found themselves underwater during the flood of 2021.
The full basement was submerged completely, so all of our refrigeration, all of our keg storage, all of our production is down below, so all that got completely flooded.
And they weren't alone. The banks of the Pigeon River were overrun, rising up to this pencil mark at the Canton Fire Department, but not as high as 2 previous floods, which hit record levels. They are disasters the state's Land and Water Fund is hoping to mitigate with a $2 million grant aimed at the heart of the flooding.
We were able to fund it at a level of $2 million, which is the maximum award given under that program this year. But it's also being matched
by state funding targeting the problem.
This particular grant, this $2 million grant from the Land and Water Fund, what it will help us do is identify particular parcels and/or opportunities to go after engineered flood storage, again, to delay the impacts of flooding.
Whether in Canton or Clyde or in the upper Pigeon and Hominy watersheds, the funds will be focused at providing storage waters for floodwaters in Canton, ensuring clean drinking water, stabilizing the riverbanks, and conserving adjacent farmland. For Art and others like him, it hits right where he and his business live.
This is the center, the epicenter. During the flood, we were in the middle of the circle. Anything we can do to take the threat of flood away will only help us.
The actual implementation of this plan will begin this summer and carry throughout 2024.
Local school systems are now well into their budget process, and educators are stressing the need for across-the-board pay raises.
News 13's Andrew James reports they hope to see those pay increases reflected in budget requests to county leaders.
Local educators have been calling for pay increases for years, and it seems there may now be some progress, but this is not a done deal as county leaders now have to weigh in.
The school board has asked for what our schools need, and they're ready to justify that.
Daniel Withrow, president of the Asheville City Association of Educators, celebrating Asheville City Schools' budget request approved this week, getting all staff to a living wage and increasing the supplement for all staff. Withrow says this brings the school system in line with supplement pay in other districts around the state.
Tremendous gratitude toward the board and Dr. Cosby for their work on this budget. We know this is a really big ask to go to the county with, but it's really an ask that will fund our schools for what they need.
Withrow says the stakes are high, telling me many school employees are being priced out of the area.
If we can ensure that our school staff are financially able to afford living in Asheville, if school staff can work one job instead of 2, 3, or 4 jobs in order to survive, then we end up with a school staff that is more stable.
Our local Board of Education and county commissioners has the power to raise our supplement so that we have enough to put food on our tables and to feed our children and clothe our children.
Asheville City Schools is not alone in the fight for increased pay. Buncombe County educators are calling for a living wage as well and an increase in the local supplement.
It is the duty of our Board of Education to root their budget request in the needs of our children. And so we are asking that they take those needs into consideration, that our children need fully staffed classrooms with educators who are making a living wage.
In early May, Buncombe County school staff is expected to ask the Board of Education to fully implement recommendations from a recent salary study. The board's budget request will then go before Buncombe County commissioners.
This is good progress. We'd be curious to see more numbers and more details about that pay scale.